I'm honored to share a conversation I had with Kurt Hester, D1's former director of coaching. At our Coach Summit in New Orleans this past July, Kurt shared a lot of great stories and a lot of great memories. Unfortunately, Kurt passed away in October after a courageous battle with cancer. Kurt was a mentor and a friend of mine. I'm grateful we captured this time together. His impact on athletes, coaches, and our entire community will never be forgotten. This conversation is just a small part of his legacy that he leaves behind. I had a guy in my life who impacted me in this that you'll never know how much, all of you sitting here, how this person impacted that. This guy, I was a senior, going into my senior year of college, and I was walking through the Tennessee weight room. I thought I had it all figured out, squat big, power clean heavy, jump high, run fast. And I started talking to this guy. I was like, man, he has something that I want. He has something that he could give me that I think I need to get to the next level. And so I flew down to New Orleans, and I went to a training facility here, and I'm in there, and it's not this guy. And I'm like, this is not the place where this guy can give me so much. And so I talked to my sports agent, and I was like, hey, man, I don't really like this training place. I want to go train with this guy I met at the University of Tennessee. He actually lives in New Orleans, and he's across the bridge. And my agent's like, well, how much does it cost? I was like, oh, I don't know. So I call this coach, and I say, hey, coach, can I come train with you? I don't know what it costs. You got to talk to my agent. He said, just get your ass in a car and get dropped off at this field. This is by the way, this is pre maps and Google Maps and all this stuff. He just gave me a random address. I got dropped off in Mandeville, Louisiana, up across the bridge. Anybody gone the causeway? Anybody done that yet? That's a nice little drive. I don't know where I'm going. I'm going to Swampland. I'm getting dropped off. I get dropped off in a park, and there's a couple other athletes there. And this coach looks at me, and I'm like looking around, and he's like, "Oh, what? You don't think you can train in a middle school park with potholes?" I'm like, what? He's like, if you can't learn to run fast with potholes, you're not going to be fast at all. And I was like, okay, yes, sir. It just hit me right in the gut. And after we finished that training session, I looked at him, I go, I don't have anywhere to stay. And he's like, man, just come stay with me. Come stay with me. And right in that moment, I don't know what it was. It was like, man, that guy was like my dude. I was like, he's all in. And that's the way my personality is. I like to be all in. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes. Some of you franchise owners, I've been calling every franchise owner. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll stay up late. I'll get up early. I don't know. My dad just wired me that way. And I love the work of it. I love the journey of it. And throughout 20-something years of this company history, man, it has been a privilege to continue to keep leveling that up. So anyway, fast forward, this coach ended up being able to come on the D1 staff. He was our director of coaching, oversaw our combine training, oversaw all of the things that we were doing, did our programming, did so many different jobs, and then went on to coach at a bunch of different spots. Went and coached at La Tech, went and coached at head strength coach at Tulane, and now he's at Houston. And man, I am so excited to have one of the guys who really inspired me to start this business. By the way, I hadn't told him this, but I used to, when I was going in his gym back then, he like screwed all the platforms together and had the graffiti on the wall and had, he had the shoes over the banister for the drug drop, right? That was where the drug drop was, isn't that right? And then, man, when I walked in there, I was like, man, this edgy environment, this is what I love. This is what I love about training. Now, we're not going to do some of that stuff at D1. But, man, it inspired me so much to go, man, I want a place to come train. I want a place where people can find Kurt Hesters. I want a place where I can come and find a guy who's going to inspire me to get more out of me than I thought I could get out of myself. I want a place for people to come and get encouragement to go like, man, I can do more than what I thought I could. So without further ado, if you guys could stand up. We got Kurt Hester, legendary strength coach in the house. Come on up. We stand and sitting. Here we go. What's up, dude? Thank you for being here.
It's good to be alive.
What are you talking about? You look great, man.
Yeah, well, I was supposed to be dead 4 weeks ago, so with stage 4 cancer, but, you're looking at somebody who was 190 pounds February 28th and weighs about 146 right now, so kind of took a little toll on me. Man. But, it all worked out. I was coming back down. I was leaving Houston. My middle daughter had a grandchild, so I was already going to be here. And when Matt talked to me 2 months ago, I said, Matt, I can't walk 15 feet right now without having to sit down. I don't know if I'll be able to make it. And then everything worked out where my head football coach gave me an extra week off, got to go watch my first grandson, and then show up here.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. Man,
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What was the first inception of D1?
Man, that's a great question.
Where were we at?
I love that you're asking me this question, and
because I don't forget anything.
I want you to tell me right now, because I remember being in your gym late night. I feel like it was maybe after a bunch of groups are gone, and we started talking about it, and I was like, what would it look like to have a gym like this?
He said, when my NFL career is over, I want to build something like this. And then the Sunday that the Patriots played the Rams, we sat at an IHOP.
That's right.
And that morning, because we were going to the game.
How could I forget this?
And we mapped out the entire business plan in an IHOP on napkins and all kind of stuff.
Crazy thing about this story is I was given Super Bowl tickets. It was and they played here.
Yeah, they played here.
And I gave the tickets away, and we went and sat at IHOP and talked about this business.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
How it all started at IHOP.
Hey, it's where I met my wife. It's where D1 was founded. It's where Kurt and I confessed our love to each other, all those things.
Yeah.
Man, that is crazy. That is crazy. So, man, I'd love for you. So you got a lot of young coaches. You got some seasoned coaches in here. You got kind of everything in between. I'd love to maybe just start with your coaching journey and what got you into strength and conditioning. Why do you love it so much? You've committed your whole life to it, man.
I mean, y'all going to a place called Thibodaux, Louisiana. I grew up south of that, and you're like, what's south of that? Cuba. That's what's south of that. It's like swamp, marsh. My junior high was in the middle of a cane field. Nickel State's in the middle. What used to be in the middle of a cane field, but I had a coach that played for Southern University. I was 13 years old, and started teaching me how to lift. And this is probably 73, 74. No one in the country lifted. They didn't even have strength coaches in college. They didn't have strength coaches in the NFL. And started there, learning how to train, bought my own equipment, the little not Olympic, but the little plastic with the cement, 110-pound plate. Bought that. I can tell you the pamphlet it came, the exercises that were on it. It's still in my head, etched in my head, because I did it every day, not knowing what the hell I was doing. I built my own benches, my own pull-up racks, my own dip racks. My middle brother was a welder in a shipyard, and I would just draw up equipment, and he would just go weld it, cut out plates, cut out dumbbells. So I had probably, by the time I was 16, probably 500 pounds worth of plates and dumbbells out and just in the yard. And I had to wear welding gloves, because I don't know if y'all know how hot it gets down here, but in the summer, that heat sitting in the sun, and I couldn't grab it with my hands, so I just put welding gloves on to lift. Then I moved to, my mom moved to Baton Rouge when I was in ninth grade, and I was trained under America's greatest weightlifting coach that's ever been born and raised in the United States, Gail Hatch, in a regional Olympic weightlifting center. So I kind of grew up. I was meant to be a strength coach. And so my strength coach career probably started at 12 years old, when no one Here's how I really wanted to train. I saw a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I went, that dude gets a lot of chicks. I'm training. It wasn't about being an athlete. That came later.
Yeah, you had the Conan hair. You had the long hair.
I had the long hair. I had it all. And so then it was like the inception of the field. There was a whole lot of people in it. I went to Tulane University. Tom Shaw was the premier speed coach. Was the only speed coach in the country at the time, and I ran the physiology lab at Tulane. And he came in and wanted me to test some athletes. I said, look, I'll test all the athletes if you teach me what you know. And that was the first class of guys that we trained. That's when Derek Brooks was coming out of Florida State.
Derek Brooks, Florida State.
Yeah, so that's a long time ago.
Man, it's been amazing to watch you. One of the things that you've always inspired me on is, one, Kurt's a man of action. We'll tell a couple of funny stories. But he's a man of action. And then two, you just love knowledge. Yeah. You soak it up. And you putting like monetary things aside, you would rather have knowledge than compensation almost.
No, I'd rather have knowledge, and I'd rather help other people. I'll get compensated later. Like the more you refine yourself as a coach, the more you read and reread. Like you can go back and read books that you've read 5 years ago and still learn something from that book. Everything's regurgitated. I did a tweet the other day about wickets. Like all these young coaches, wickets, man. Like we're training speed, we're training this, we're doing that. We were doing it 30 years ago, and we called it stride checkers.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just now they're gonna put mini hurls down. We put paint sticks down and measured them out. And it was 30 years ago. We're trying to put force into the ground and lengthen strides without overstriding. But now every strength coach in the country is putting videos out. Oh, wickets, man! Look what we're doing, wickets. Shut the hell up! Come on.
Go. I'd love for them to hear a little bit about that first gym. So you were at LSU. Heck of a strength and conditioning career there. Yeah. Bounced around all different sports, helping LSU win national title 2. Yeah. They just won 2 again. So it's like, man, now you're getting blended in with all of them.
But that was called gorilla ball for me.
That was what?
It's called gorilla ball because we set the national record in home runs that will never be broken. Over 200 in one season. That's a lot of home runs a game.
And then you go and you open your location up across the bridge. I'd love for you to maybe because I just think got some people in here, they're just getting ready to open up. They've been open up for a long time. It's like, what does it take? Because what I saw is like the whole community came to you. I mean, Jason DeMello came out of that gym. A bunch of us came out of that gym. So it's like, I'd love for you to maybe just talk about the way you thought about it.
At the time, I was working with like Jimmy Sexton, a lot of the biggest agents in the country. There were no training facilities, no standalone training facilities. Mike Boyle had a small one up in Boston, and then I think mine was the first really decent-sized training facility in the country. It was a standalone, and we just had this concept of building. It was a health club, and we built a 5,000 square foot weight room off this really, really nice health club across the lake. We had our own 80-yard field that was graded down with the incline. We had sand pits. We had everything outside. And I started by just going through the health club and talking to high school athletes, and I trained like 5 of them for free. And those 5 athletes, within 5 months, I had 150. When it was all said and done, we trained over 18,000 athletes in that facility. Jason being one of them. I think Jason, we started when he was in 10th grade. I can't tell you how many scholarship athletes from all over the country, male, female, but I started by just giving my time to five guys. It's more about building the culture and putting time into the athlete. The more time you put into their personal life, the more you care about that athlete, the more that facility will grow. When it just becomes about marketing and money, it'll start out great, and then it's going to take a nosedive. We were training almost 500 athletes a day. 500. That's like a college. We had 21 platforms, and we trained. We didn't, we didn't train like TikTok, putting somebody on a Bosu ball with 50 bands on them and strobe sunglasses and throwing darts at them. We didn't. We trained, and we put a culture. It was like a college culture, and it got to the point where we didn't accept anybody. That if it had to be the right person to fit in, and when we started turning away people, it grew even more because it became like the place to train, and the athletes kind of wore like a badge on their shoulder that when they trained, it was called HS2, but affectionately we called it the ghetto, because it was spray painted walls, razor wire, shoes. I mean, and we trained, relatively basic compared to what people try to train now, but we did a great job and we cared about our athletes. And going through this cancer stuff, I probably had over half of those athletes hit me up and tell me what it meant.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man, it meant a ton. I know it meant a ton to me. I know to speak to all those guys, man. It was one of those places where, like, when you stepped in, you felt like you could do so much more than so much more. And there's so many great stories that come out.
Yeah, well, we did some crazy stuff to motivate people.
Can you share one? Can you share?
This one almost put me in prison. But
can you share the alligator story? Can you share the alligator story?
I mean, I truly grew up in the swamp. I grew up hunting, fishing, catching snakes and alligators. Like swamp people have, they're wimps compared to how I grew up. We catch alligators with our hands. We didn't pull them up. Like when they pull them up and as soon as that head comes out the water, they're going to thrash around. Usually you pull them up to where you can see them, put a .22 rifle right up to their head, you just shoot them and then you pull them in the boat. I used to just pull them in the boat. And then tie them up after. So, 1 year we were talking about squatting and we're trying to fire the guys up. So I dressed up. There was an old wrestler called the Ultimate Warrior. And I had really long hair. So I dressed up like the Ultimate Warrior. Came in, started body slamming people. I think I broke a couple of benches with humans, and so then the next year. The SWAT team gave me 2 assault shotguns, and I put blanks in them, and came in, flipped them both out, started shooting in the air. They all went nuts, and they thought it was. I had one kid that thought it was real. Like he tried to go. We would chain the door shut so no one could come in and no one could leave, because I knew how bad it was going to get. And so we actually just chained and clipped them, and so then. I forgot what it was. Oh, then the hurricane came and a bunch of trees went down on my yard, and I had a big oak tree and we were cutting them up. And I was like, in the original Conan, they had that, one guy who had the big sledgehammer that would swing it around. So I took an oak, it probably weighed, 75, 80 pounds, and I drilled a hole through the log, stuck a fence post through it and collar keyed it and painted it. I dressed up, no shirt, painted my whole body like Conan the Barbarian, and walked in, started slamming the hammer. It probably weighed 150 pounds when I was done with it. Being an idiot and not realizing it, I threw it, and it went straight through the wall, through the wall and outside the other side. So I had this hole in the wall. I was like, okay, now I got to fix that without people getting mad at me. And so then the next year, I was like, look, I'm done. I don't think there's a whole lot else I can do. And they were like, man, like fight someone said fight a bear or something. And I was like, yeah, well, we don't have that many black, bears in Louisiana. But I can go trap an alligator. And so I went threw some lines out, and I got about, it was about 275 pound alligator, about 7.5 foot long. And so I pulled him up, and we were playing, I don't know if y'all still play the game, like Tiger Ball, Ghetto Ball.
Yeah, Ghetto Ball.
And I pulled my hamstring pretty bad playing Ghetto Ball. And I went out, by myself to go get this alligator. And so I just wrapped up my hamstring. And as soon as I was pulling him up, and I couldn't see him. And so I pulled him a little too hard. And so he shot out right at me. And, so I turned to push off on the wrong leg. And I just went face first into the mud. into the swamp. And I knew that he was going to climb right across my back. And there was a log, and I just pulled myself up on the log. I'm sitting there. This is like July in the middle of the swamp, 1,000 degrees, mosquitoes. I'm covered in swamp mud. And I'm like, all right, now how am I going to get this alligator? So I pulled him really hard, and I just looped the string he was on around his mouth, taped up his mouth, picked him up, threw him in this little, it's called a pirogue, it's like a canoe, threw him in a canoe, and I just sat on him. And I paddled out. And then I threw the canoe in the back of my truck, and I was like, not thinking this through. I threw the alligator in the back seat of my truck. And so I'm just sitting there, and he's like, lunging at me. I just hit him right as hard as I could, and then trying to get him to stop. Fast forward, we're squatting the next day. And,
this is a high school team in there, Max squatting, right?
A Catholic high school team.
Catholic high school team.
And so I dress up, and I grab my shotgun, put it on. I put a knife on my shoulder, like taped, had it strapped to my arm. And I told him, I said, put Kid Rock on. When I hear Kid Rock, I'll come from outside with this alligator. I just had his mouth taped up. And I painted over it so you couldn't tell that his mouth was taped up. And he's like, I'm holding him, waiting for him to put his song on. They finally put it on. He's death rolling in my arms, and I'm like, he's 275, 300 pounds, and so they finally kicked the door open. I just threw him in, and when he hit the ground, it stunned him, so he didn't move. So I think they thought it was fake, and then all of a sudden he stood up and went, and they just spread out. I flipped the shotgun over, and I just pumped out like 3 shots. Smoke's going, and they're diving everywhere. And their rival school was Mandeville, where Jason went to. And I said a few choice words. This is what the hell y'all gonna do to Mandeville. So I pulled the knife out, just stuck it through his head into the platform. Blood freaking going everywhere. I probably broke 50 laws, and some parents were like, probably thought it was like that it was child abuse. And so that was like, then I was like, okay, I'm done now. I'm going to prison next. So that was like one of the insane stuff we would do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, clap it up. And when I heard that story, I was like, okay, that's where I need to train. No, man, thank you for sharing that. Katrina hit, we had stayed close throughout the years. Obviously, we had talked business, and I called Kurt, and I was like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, I'm basically you were going like house to house, like helping people out.
Yeah, we were like trying to rebuild everything, and kind of did not know what was going to go on. But the thing was, like, the one thing that we did do is we kept the facility open. No electricity, no nothing. And the athletes that were still around, it just gave them like a release. Besides, just sitting at home, no AC for a month, you had to drive 40 miles to go get gas. To get on a phone, you had to drive 40 miles just to get cell phone, to get groceries. And we kept the facility open. Well, I think we were like one of the only things that would open in the entire parish.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so I kept calling them like, hey, what are you doing? We got all these pro guys coming to train, and you're the best. How do I get you here? And so I talked him into coming for one combine season, and Kurt stayed in my guest house.
Yeah.
And we had some wild times. And then that ended up being years, and ended up, Kurt was the guy who trained Tim Tebow. You saw Tim up here and all these other guys. I'd love maybe share just a little bit about your experiences with D1 and your time there.
Well, it started, the original D1 was in a small little strip mall, and didn't have a whole lot of equipment. So he had a 4Runner, and at the time, put a trailer on it. I think we had another truck with a trailer, and a good friend of mine from Baton Rouge was the head strength coach at Tennessee at the time. And whenever you have to spend money. And if you don't spend your money, you don't get that back in your budget. So they had all this equipment in containers. So they just buy new equipment just to buy new equipment. So I said, Johnny, we're going to come in. He thought we were just coming in to visit him. But I had all these trailers and trucks, and we just pulled up. I said, give me the keys to those containers. Like, Kurt, I can't do that. Johnny, just give me the keys. Just stay in here, and just, we'll go out there, and just, and you don't see anything. And we loaded up so many plates and bars. It all had Tennessee Vols on it. It's like all logoed out that we almost, every bump we hit, I thought we were going to blow the axle out on that 4Runner because we took anything we wanted. And that was the original equipment. And then we went back. They had changed the turf field out.
Yeah, we got extra turf.
We took the whole turf field. I don't know how we found a forklift, and we we picked it up, put it on the trailer, and then we put it out. And we turfed a dirt field. That was like the original facility.
Yeah,
so it started from ground up, just like my facility started from ground up.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then, through those years. So one of the things when Kurt was director of coaching, you used to travel around and you would go to every location.
Yeah, and I probably spent, so much time on the road because I would just map out, go from facility to facility, come back around, make it back here, and then do it again. And, it was I think at the heart, I think the way D1 has evolved now, the way we were more corporate than anything. But no one none of the coaches wanted to adhere to the programming, So I wrote this extensive programming out, and it was just they thought they knew better. So I'd go to a facility, and I'd watch some of these drills. I'm like, what are y'all doing? It's like, they would do some COD, and it was like an equipment explosion. This dude's making 400 cuts, and it was so glycolytic the kid was vomiting before he got to the last cone. And it's just, it kind of wasn't really, from a standpoint of the programming, it was hard to keep up and try to keep guys in line thinking they knew more than what we knew about training athletes. And it was more about them wanting to be, they wanted to be the show. And it's about the athlete. It is truly, I don't care what anybody says, it is about the athlete. And it's about, if you don't care about the athletes in your facility, you're not going to be successful. It just doesn't, it's not going to work. I would go to 12-year-old rec games. I went to high school games. I went to junior high games. I mean, I was all over the place, and that is your marketing. Putting your time into the athlete is your marketing. That's all you have to do. And that's all we ever did. I had no marketing plan. I had no advertising. We just put all our time and effort into our athletes. I'd say 90% of the coaches that I had at that facility became college coaches or NFL coaches. Because at the same time, I did everything I could to develop our staff and to teach our staff the right way to do things. And those guys put all their time into their athletes. And that is the key. If you don't care, you're not going to be successful. You have to care. And deeply care and be deeply involved in their lives. I knew everything about as many athletes as we had, I knew a lot about them personally. When parents had a problem with their kid, they would bring them to my office and sit in my office with their kid. And we would talk through their problems. That's the extent of how far, what we did in our facility, where the parents trusted us with their kids unequivocally. And it was a badge of honor to train at our facility. And when you get to that point, the money is going to come. The money's going to show up. I went from making $25,000 at LSU. Within a year, I was making $150,000. I wasn't trying to make $150,000. I was trying to help athletes. That just came.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Clap it up to that. Come on, guys. I mean, I'd love for you to maybe share a little bit about now. So you've gone when you left your D1, you went to La Tech, you went to Tulane, and then you've been at Houston, built some amazing strength and conditioning staffs there, and by the way, tons of success. Like everywhere you've been, you've had success. I love maybe, because you got some younger coaches in here, it just the network and what do you look for? Because I feel like everybody that has been in your kind of stratosphere has gone on and, like you said, become a head strength coach or gone on and done big things. And so I'd love for you to maybe talk to some of these young strength coaches of what it takes and what you look for.
I mean, I think when you're a younger strength coach, you think it's all about programming. Everything's about the program. Everything's about what you're doing with the athlete. When I'm developing a staff or building a staff, I look for the person. Look for the person first. What kind of person are you? And I don't care what your knowledge is. To me, it does not matter. Knowledge will come. Being a quality person, a lot of times doesn't come unless you've been through a lot of stuff to go through all these trials and tribulations to become a really good person. So for me, it's about being a quality human first. And if I can find quality humans, I know they're going to be a quality coach. It's just like athletes. You can go out and try to get a 5-star kid who's not a great kid, who's going to fail out of school, who's not going to show up on time, who's not going to develop his genetic potential because he thinks he's got it all. I would rather find a coach that's a great human than some coach who thinks he knows everything about training. And that's how you develop your staff. Find the person first. The training will come second.
Man, love that. I think that's one of the things we try to do. The character words that we put on all the walls. We have 12 words in every D1, words like fearless and perseverance and discipline and integrity. Do what you say you're going to do. Those words were forged in those early moments. And I remember we had all these conversations about these words. To me, I've always looked at you as a person to look up to be who's fearless. Like who goes into a swamp and captures an alligator? I'll tell you a funny one. MPA, we got MPA tonight. MPA. So Kurt always let our staff out back in the day, and we would go out and we would train all the coaches. And then before we didn't always come back to Bourbon Street. We would stay out in Nichols.
Yeah.
And
Bubba Twos.
Yeah, Bubba Twos and Roxy's. And Roxy's, yeah. And we come stumbling out of Roxy's one night, and this dude, I'm like, what's Kurt doing? And you ran and you jumped off into the swamp.
Yeah, there's a bridge over Bayou Lafourche. It was right in front of Nichols State. And so they kept asking me, are there alligators in there? I said, yeah, there are alligators in there. And so I'm walking and I handed our she was our director. What was Kendra's title?
She was in the marketing.
Yeah, she was in marketing. So I pulled out my phone, pulled out my wallet, handed her my glasses, and I jumped up on the railing of the bridge and I just dove off. And I swam underneath it, so they just went under, swam underneath the bridge, so they couldn't tell I was underneath the bridge, and they started looking. I'm underneath the bridge, so they think I went under and something got me, and I'm never coming back. And I'm up there laughing, and then I think Dan jumped off second.
Yeah, I think Dan was second. I get a call from Arch Manning the next day, and Arch is like, "Hey, I heard one of your coaches ended up in the swamp. Everything okay?" I was like, "Oh, Arch, it was Kurt. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal. He lives in the swamp."
One of the many stupid things I did in my entire career, because I'm probably lucky I made it to 62 years old.
You what?
I'm lucky I made it to 62 years old.
Oh, man. It's crazy. You've done some awesome stuff. Man, I'd love maybe to just wrap this up with just saying thank you. Thank you for everything you meant to this business, to strength and conditioning. If you guys, when you go out to these conferences, you will hear his name, and you've gotten to meet the legend of Kurt Hester. This guy has done so much for this industry, and has done it in a way that is, what I love, which is just relentless, fearless, with integrity. He does what he says he's going to do. I can tell you that right now. Remember when you took that Rambo knife to the sales guy's throat and you say, "Do you have conviction?" You remember that?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
That was integrity.
That was
You
integrity.
did what you said you were going to do.
did
You
what
said,
I
hey, if you come at me, I'm going to stick my knife in your throat.
He was pretty scared. Yeah.
That dude became the CEO of that book company. Oh, man. Anyway.
Well, I mean, and it's a quick start. Like, I'm at Louisiana Tech. We're doing really well there, and I decided to write a book and about the field. And then you deal with administration, you deal with the medical field, and it feels like your hands are always tied. So I decided I just kind of started free writing, just sketching stuff out. I'm gonna write a book, and it ended up being. I come from a long line of, believe it or not, Protestant Methodist preachers in Louisiana. My great-grandfather was the first Protestant preacher in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And, so the way I wrote it was like a passage, like in the Bible. And it was like whatever date that something happened, whatever crazy thought was in my head, I'd write the passage, and then I'd explain the passage underneath about what was going on. And I had, have a different verbiage than most humans. I write like I talk, and a lot of expletives a lot of times when I'm talking, especially when I get super excited. And it's like a verb, it's a noun, it's like it just comes naturally to me. But it was like enough to get fired, especially at football's conservative. Colleges are liberal, but football is conservative. So the way to get around getting fired was I donated 50% to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. I worked with a lot of Navy SEALs, a lot of Special Forces guys, and so the other 50% went to the Navy SEALs Foundation. So I probably raised $30,000 off this book. And so for me, it was like, okay, if you fire me, you hate sick kids. and you hate America.
Oh, so good. So good.
And haven't gotten fired yet.
I mean, you had a heck of a year at Houston. I mean.
We went and turned down Louisiana Tech, beat a lot of teams like Miami, like Illinois in bowl games. We had the longest bowl winning streak in the history of football at one time. Then I go to Tulane. They're 2-10, a lot of injuries. We end up 12-2, going to the Cotton Bowl, beating USC. Then we went 11-3, conference championships and all, which got us the job at University of Houston. So we're just turning that program around. So we're gonna be pretty good this year.
It's awesome. Basketball team, man.
And the basketball team's really good.
Yeah, yoked up too.
Yeah, and yoked.
Yeah. Well, man, thank you so much for being here. When I found out about Kurt, I sent him a text and said, "Hey, man, I'm so sorry. I'll be praying for you. Love your family, love you." And in true Kurt response, he replied. Do you remember what you replied to?
Probably not.
You replied, "I'm in an epic fight for my life, and it's one that I am super excited to take on. If I win, then all is good. If I lose, then all is good as well." And so that is the attitude of a true warrior. And so with that, if everybody would stand up and give Big Kurt a round of applause. Appreciate you, man. Before you go, we wanted, stay standing. We wanted to recognize Kurt. He's meant a ton to me. That logo you wear when you walk into your gym, so we have 152 open now, man. 152.
It's crazy.
And
we used to come with 12 guys.
Yeah, we used to come here with 12. And we have 152 locations. We have roughly 700 coaches in the system right now.
That's sweet. It's
and
awesome.
That's a legacy, and a huge legacy that he is woven into the fabric of D1. And one of the ways we want to recognize that is every year we give out awards at D1. So tomorrow we have our awards time over at the Saints facility. And we've added a new award this year. And our new award is actually, here, you got to go this one first, which is the Kurt Hester Award. It's for the top strength and conditioning coach in the D1 system. We're going to be giving out every year. And this year's recipient of the first one has to be Kurt Hester, right? But in true fashion, it couldn't just be any award. It's got to be the Rambo knife. I asked them to put alligator blood on it, but they said they couldn't do that. So, man, congrats.
I'm going down to play this weekend, so
Yeah.
probably can.
Awesome. Clap it up for Kurt, guys.
Thanks, man. Thank you.